If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.
Good morning, Julie. How are you today? Today on the podcast, I'm doing my little show beforehand. We're going to be talking about seismic activity and how earthquakes are created. Um, Obviously, like with plate tectonics and seismic activity, what convergent is, divergent, how things transform, and continental collisions. We're also going to talk about how land gets stressed and plates react and earthquakes are created or earthquakes happen. I'm glad you're doing good, Julie. Me too. I slept really good last night after the show, and I've had a pretty good morning so far. So I'm glad to see that you're doing pretty good this morning also. Anyways, earthquakes basically result from the sudden release of energy in the Earth's atmosphere, generating seismic waves that cause they cause like they cause the ground to shake. The primary mechanism involves the movement of what we call tectonic plates, which make up the Earth's outer shell. Tectonic plates in the movement. Basically, Earth's lithosphere is divided into about 15 major tectonic plates. These plates float on a semi-fluid mantle beneath due to convection currents. They're driven by heat from the Earth's core. The plates interact with. Hello. Can you hear me, Julie? All right. You can hear me now? Cool. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry for that technical difficulty. I don't know really what just happened. Basically, we're going to go back to what I was talking about just a second. It was called tectonic plate movement. Basically, the Earth's lithosphere is based and divided into 15 major tectonic plates. These plates float on a semi-fluid mantle beneath and move due to convection currents driven by heat from the Earth's core. Plates interact with boundaries, which can be four different things can happen. Basically, the first thing is called convergent. It's when plates collide, usually causing one to subduct underneath the other. Basically, that happens a lot around the Pacific Ring of Fire. And then divergent, where plates move apart, creating a new crust. And then there's transform, where plates slide past each other, like the San Andreas Fault. And then a continental collision, where plates just crumble and they form mountains. So they push up when they hit, like that, and create a mountain. Um, then basically we have to deal with plate tectonics. We have to deal with stress accumulation. So as plates move, stress builds up and builds up and builds up in the crust where they interact, particularly along faults and, fractures in the Earth's crust, where the rocks will slide and or shifted, where they slide and they shift. The fault rupture is when the stress exceeds the strength of the rocks, basically, and the fault slips, releasing all the stored elastic strained energy. This rupture is the earthquake's hypocenter or focus to the point of where the earthquake originates. The epicenter is the point on the surface directly above the hypocenter. Then we have a thing that's called seismic waves. These seismic waves are basically energy that's released and it travels as seismic waves. So it is what the earthquake is. The P wave, the primary compressional wave that travels the fastest. So P waves travel the fastest. And then we have S waves. They're the secondary, so like the aftershocks, but they're shear waves that are slower and cause more shaking. So sorry, not aftershocks. They're more shear waves that are slower and cause more shaking. And then we have the surface waves. So they're the waves that travel along the Earth's surface, causing the most damage to the Earth and the things that surround on the top, or basically on the surface of the Earth. They cause the damage on the surface. So then we have the depth and the magnitude of each earthquake. They can be classified. So the first classification is called the shallow focus. It's about more than 70 kilometers deep, often way more destructive. And then we have a thing called intermediate focus, which is 70 to 300 kilometers. And then we have deep focus, which is 300 to 700 kilometers. It's common in subduction zones. Magnitude measures energy released. So like the Richter or the moment magnitude scale, with each whole number representing a 31.6 fold increase in energy. Then we have other causes that can create an earthquake, or the causes of what could create an earthquake. Basically, besides tectonic movement, earthquakes can be triggered by volcanic eruptions or activity, such as magma movement or eruptions, human activities such as fracking or reservoir filling or mine exploring, and landslides or mine collapses. All of these can cause plates or waves to shift and form. Most of the earthquakes occur alongside boundaries, with about 90% in the Pacific Ring of Fire, about 40,000 kilometer zone enforcing the Pacific's plate. Now we're going to go into like recent seismic activity. So basically earthquakes from January 21st to about April 21st of this year. So I have a detailed list here of significant earthquakes of a magnitude 5.0 or otherwise notable from the past 3 months based on available data. I got this data from sources like the USGS and the Volcanic Discovery. Thousands of smaller quakes occur daily, so this focuses on more of the major earthquakes or the more impactful events that happen. So we have January. January 23rd of 2025, a really big one, a magnitude 7.0, hit Almaty, Kazakhstan. The location was 42 kilometers E of Almaty Al province. The depth was 10 kilometers shallow. The impact was strong, shaking Almaty. Minor damage was reported. There were no fatalities. It was felt across Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. The source is the USGS Earthquakes Hazard Program. And then we have on January 28th of 2025, a magnitude 5.0 hit Carlsberg Ridge. The location is a mid-ocean ridge in the Indian Ocean. The depth is about 10 kilometers. The impact was no significant damage due to remote oceanic location. The source is This information came directly from the volcanic discovery or volcano discovery. Then in February, on February 7th of 2025, we had a magnitude 6.2 in Papua New Guinea. The location was 67 kilometers WSW of Candaran, West New Britain. Its depth was 35 kilometers. Its impact was moderate shaking, no major damage reported due to sparse population. The source where we got this information, was the USGS. Then in February 14th of 2025, we had a magnitude 5.5 in Indonesia. Its location was 112 kilometers southwest of Fakfak, West Papua, or Papua, maybe. Sorry, guys, I cannot pronounce Indian words. This is why I took notes. The depth was 10 kilometers. The impact was minor. There was shaking and no significant damage. I got this from the volcano discovery. On February 23rd of 2025, magnitude 5.9 in Chile. Location was 45 kilometers of northeast Antofagasta. Depth was 98 kilometers. It was intermediate. Impact was felt in northern Chile. No major damage. The source that we got this information from was the USGS. Now we're going to go on into March. On March, we didn't have a big impact until the 28th. So March 28th of 2025, we had a magnitude 7.7 in Sagang, Myanmar. So the quake that hit in Myanmar. The location was 14 kilometers northwest of Sangang region. The depth was 19 kilometers, shallow. Its impact was significant damage in Sangang and Mandalay. Buildings collapsed, several injuries, at least one fatality reported. It was felt as far as Bangkok, Thailand, 1,000 kilometers away. We got that source from the volcano discovery and the USGS. March 28th, 2025, we also had a 6.7 in Nepal, Myanmar. So another part of Myanmar, India. The location was 61 kilometers southwest of Kaiswak, Mandalay. Depth was 10 kilometers. Impact was an aftershock. So this was the aftershock of the original 7.7 earthquake. It did a lot of compound damage in the region. We got this and sourced this information from the volcano discovery page. On March 30th, 2025, we had a magnitude 5.4 in the Seram Sea in Indonesia. Its location was about 107 kilometers southwest of Palua Tantaruga Island in West Papua. Its depth was about 10 kilometers. Its impact there was no significant damage due to its remote location. We got that source from the volcanic discovery. It's still a big one, a 5.4. Thank God there wasn't a lot of damage done. Thank God it happened in that remote location. And then we have in April of 2025, so April 4th in 2025, we had a magnitude 6.0 hit in California. The location was 7 kilometers northwest of Ferndale, Humboldt County. Its depth was 10 kilometers. Its impact was moderate shaking in North California. Minor structural damage, no injuries reported. We sourced that from the USGS and X posts. April 5th, 2025, we had a magnitude 6.5 in New Zealand. The location was about 130 kilometers northeast of Gisborne, North Island. Its depth was about 33 kilometers. Its impact was felt across North Island. No significant damage. We sourced that from the USGS and X posts. Then we had April 10th, 2025. We had a magnitude 5.4 in a 5.1 in Chile. Its location was about 50 kilometers southwest of Corpao, Atacama. Its depth was 80 kilometers. Its impact was minor, shaking, no damage reported. We sourced that mostly from X post. We could not find that on USG or the volcanic website. On April 15th of 2025, we had a magnitude 4.3 in Oi, Greece. Its location near Oi Kykalets, the South Asian. Depth was about 10 kilometers. Impact was minor shaking, no damage reported. We sourced that from the volcano discovery page. And then April 19th, 2025, we had a magnitude 5.3 in Japan. The location was 40 kilometers east of Miyako Iwate Prefecture. Its depth was about 50 kilometers. Its impact was felt around northern Japan, no significant damage. We sourced that directly from the USGS. We also had a pretty big earthquake in Jackson, Wyoming. So So Jackson, Wyoming experiences frequent seismic activity due to its proximity to the Teton Fault and the other active faults in the region, part of the Intermountain Seismic Belt. Based on recent data, the area has a moderate level of seismic activity with about 270 earthquakes per year on average within about a 100-kilometer radius. The most are minor, below a magnitude of 3.0. Recent earthquakes. April 21st in 2025, a magnitude 2.9 earthquake occurred about 14 kilometers east of Jackson at a depth of approximately 3.8 kilometers. There was light shaking as it was reported near the epicenter and minimal impact expected. Residents were advised to continue normal activities but stay alert. Then on April 17th of 2025, a magnitude 3.9 quake struck 16 kilometers east of Jackson at about 11:07 p.m. At a depth of 3.8 kilometers. It caused moderate shaking near the epicenter and light shaking in Jackson with no reported damage. The USGS categorized it as light intensity. And then April 16th, 2025, we had a magnitude 2.0 quake that hit 13 kilometers east of Kelly, Wyoming, on a shallow depth of 4.2 kilometers. It was not widely felt. The historical context was in 2023, a significant event on November 15th involved a magnitude 5.0 quake, the largest recorded in Teton County history, followed by aftershocks of magnitude 3.7, 4.1, and 4.0. These quakes centered 7 miles west of Kelly in Gross Ventura Range, caused minor disruptions like books falling off shelves, but no major damage. In 1959, Wyoming had the largest regional earthquake, was a magnitude 7.2 in Hebgen Lake Quake in Montana, with a 6.3 shock in Yellowstone impacting Jackson. And then we had small earthquakes in 1925 in the Gross Ventura area that contributed to a massive landslide redirecting the Gross Ventura River. The seismic risks in the Teton Fault running along the base of the Teton Range is capable of producing earthquakes up to a magnitude of 7.0 to 7.5, though no such event has been recorded in history. The region sees infrequent but potentially significant quakes, with magnitudes of 5+ events occurring roughly every 15 to 20 years. The USGS seismic hazard maps indicate northwestern Wyoming, including Jackson, has a high earthquake risk with a 10% chance in the next 50 years of ground acceleration, exceeding 30% of gravity in some areas. They recommend that residents should be prepared for earthquakes by securing heavy objects, knowing the drop cover and hold on protocol, staying informed via the USGS or the volcanic page. You can also look it up on the USGS's Did You Feel It page. If you feel a quake, report it on USGS in real time for data collection. Building codes in Teton County account for seismic risks, ensuing structures withstand potential ground acceleration. So I thought that was very interesting. There's a lot of seismic activity going on right now. So now that I've kind of explained to you how earthquakes happen, some recent earthquakes around here, I'm going to play some videos now, and we can get a little bit more of a look at how these quakes happen.
This is Geology 101, and today we're talking about the 3 types of rocks that you can find on planet Earth. If you're interested in learning more about rocks, make sure to hit the plus. There are 3 main types of rocks: igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks. Each of these rocks are formed by physical changes that are part of the rock cycle. Sedimentary rocks are rocks that form from other pieces of existing rocks or organic material. There are 3 types of sedimentary rocks: clastic, organic, and chemical. Metamorphic rocks are rocks that have been changed from their original form by immense heat or pressure. Metamorphic rocks have 2 classes: foliated and non-foliated. Igneous rocks are formed when molten material cools and solidifies. Igneous rocks can also be formed in a couple of different ways. When they are formed inside the Earth, they are called intrusive or plutonic igneous rocks. When they are formed outside or on top of the Earth's crust, they are called extrusive or volcanic igneous rocks. Questions? Hit the comments.
So that was about different kinds of rocks and kind of the geology that goes into the uh, the geology that goes into the top rocks of the earth and the rocks that are underneath the dirt. So sedimentary rocks and different kinds of rocks, which is important when it comes to plate tectonics and basically the shape and the hardness of our earth and how quakes affect the rock and different things, like because quakes can cause landslides and all different kinds of things.
This is Geology 101, and today we're talking about plate tectonics. And to start, we're going to take a look at it from the macro level. Fun fact, the Earth's crust is not one continuous piece. It's actually divided into sections called plates, and most geologists tend to agree that there are between 12 and 14 major plates. These plates move in relation to each other at about 2 inches per year, and they have been moving around for billions of years. Some plates only carry oceanic crust, while other plates carry both oceanic and continental crust. But how are the plates moving? The most important force that drives plate tectonics is convection, which happens at a large scale in the asthenosphere. Convection is the process in which heated material deep in the asthenosphere rises and replaces cooler and denser material near the surface. This same process causes the rotational motion you see in boiling pots of water. As these plates move, they interact with each other at their boundaries. Make sure to follow for part 2 as we take a closer look at these interactions.
So that guy's channel is actually really cool. He explains quite a bit, but we went into plate tectonics a little bit in the very beginning of this podcast, so we know the 3 different forms and how the earthquakes are caused by plates pushing against each other, plates going away from each other, plates sliding, and then plates smashing and creating a mountain. So we know how the quakes and seismic activity happens in the aspect of plate tectonics. But still, wonderful video to watch and wonderful video to understand what he's talking about.
What the hell is the Hell Creek Formation? The Hell Creek Formation is a geologically significant division of the Upper Cretaceous and Early Paleocene rocks located in parts of Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. The formation consists primarily of claystone, mudstone, sandstone, siltstone, and conglomerates. It represents sediments deposited by rivers, deltas, and occasionally swamps along the coastal plain of the Western Interior Seaway. So why is it significant? The formation is renowned for its rich fossil record, including iconic dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex, Triceratops, and Ankylosaurus. Fossils of mammals, crocodiles, turtles, birds, and plants are also abundant. The formation also contains the iridium-enriched Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary layer, marking the asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period. It is one of the most studied formations for understanding late Cretaceous ecosystems. This formation is critical for reconstructing prehistoric life and environments during a pivotal moment in Earth's history. Make sure to follow for more geology.
I would love to see that. I would love to do some digging there if it was possible. It's very interesting, Julie. I'd love learning about this kind of stuff. The seismic activity and just geology in general and volcanoes have always interested me. And when JD brought up in the last couple episodes that we had a lot of seismic and volcanic activity starting to happen around a lot more often. I had to look into this and do an episode on it because I find this extremely interesting. In my personal opinion, I'm kind of afraid of super volcanoes like Yellowstone because that could ruin a lot of stuff for a lot of people, and the sun would get blocked out probably. It would take about 24 years, but the Yellowstone supervolcano could block out the sun and cause another ice age. If Yellowstone were to erupt in 25 years, the ash would cover the sun and there would be no light on Earth. And we would have to endure another ice age. Think about that. That's a little freaky.
哦，地震！
考试请由生活圈。
中正汉口街品家77。
And does some of the earthquakes cause those big tsunamis? Yes, a lot of earthquakes, Julie, can cause tsunamis. Basically, if you have an earthquake that's close enough to the coast of anywhere, so it could be off the coast of Asia, the coast of California, the coast of wherever. If you get an earthquake right at the coast and it's riveting outwards instead of inland, it's going basically the seismic waves are going outwards, you will for sure have a tsunami. And the likeliness of like say the new MAD going off, or not, sorry, not the new Madrid, the San Andreas fault going off, the San Andreas fault could trigger a tsunami off the coast of California. So yes, tsunamis can definitely very much occur if earthquakes go off close enough to the vicinity of the ocean. Oh, and then that last video of that earthquake on in Taiwan and that bridge shaking and all those cars being on that bridge. No, thank you. I wouldn't want to be involved in that. That would be scary. That like like are you just supposed to stay in your car? Because what if the car goes through the bridge? Like no, that's just all around no bueno.
Minerals are naturally occurring substances with a defined chemical composition and structure. They can be identified by physical properties such as hardness, luster, cleavage and streak. Hardness measures resistance to scratching. Luster describes how light reflects off a mineral's surface. Cleavage refers to how it breaks along specific planes. And streak is the colour of its powdered form. Now onto rocks. The rock cycle demonstrates how igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks are formed and transformed. Igneous rocks come from cooled magma, sedimentary rocks form through compaction of sediments, and metamorphic rocks emerge under intense heat and pressure. To put this into practice, you can identify minerals and rocks using hands-on kits or real samples. Test properties like hardness and streak, and observe luster and cleavage to determine what you're looking at. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more geology videos.
So when you guys were kids, did you guys ever get like from your parents as a present on Christmas or basically just because your dad wanted to be cool or something and he brought home a geology set that had like quartz and amethyst and limestone and just all these different rocks and like calcite and just all these different rocks and minerals. I remember one of the coolest things ever was one year for Hanukkah. My dad got me this box from a National Geographic, and it was a geology rock set, and it had one of each mineral that was legal for you to have or whatever, the minerals that they don't mind people having. And then it had one of each different kind of rock. I wish I still had it. I need to buy my own son one of those because I'm sure he would love it. But those geology rock kits, I learned all about like scratch theory and like what minerals would scratch other minerals, what things wouldn't scratch. Like for instance, you always hear about the diamond test, how if you get a real diamond, it can scratch glass. And if you have a fake diamond, it won't. So that's pretty cool.
A catastrophic 7.8 magnitude earthquake has killed up to 5,000 people in Turkey and neighbouring country Syria. The earthquake struck Turkey and Syria on Monday morning, levelling buildings and causing tremors felt as far away as Greenland. It was quickly followed by a powerful 7.6 quake and dozens of aftershocks that wiped out entire sections of major Turkish cities. The quake hit Turkey in a region filled with millions who had fled the civil war in Syria. Thousands of buildings have been damaged and infrastructure has been destroyed. Communication is currently limited in the area. There is a huge concern that there are people trapped under the rubble and weather conditions are expected to dip below freezing, with many left shelterless. The quake is believed to be the strongest to hit Turkey since 1939, when an earthquake of the same magnitude killed 30,000 people. Britain and countries in Europe have urgently sent in rescue teams to help.
Julie says, yes, I loved looking at them, and I used to visit the caves on field trips and used to buy some. Yes, I know. I loved going to the caves on field trips. I went to the caves in Missouri one time on a field trip with elementary school. It was pretty cool because we went in there and I got to buy some cave calcite, and I got to like look around at all the cave stuff and see bats up close. I thought it was pretty cool. I've also been to the caves out in Branson, specifically Bridal Cave, and that cave is absolutely wonderful to go inside of. With that earthquake video that we just saw, that's horrifying. Those buildings just basically like falling a level. Like those poor people, if there was anybody inside that first level, there's no way they lived. Oh my goodness. Earthquakes are scary, guys. Okay, I can definitely tell you this. If an earthquake like that were to hit while I'm shopping, I am definitely not sitting next to a bunch of freaking racks that are like 10-foot high with a ton of product on them, which is like what they were all doing. That just sounds like a good way to get your head smashed in. No, thank you. That would be a great one to visit. I've heard about Bridal Cave. Yes, Bridal Cave is absolutely wonderful. I'll have to show some. I'll have to do an episode on caves and show some of my photos from Bridal. It was absolutely wonderful and beautiful.
This was a very strong and shallow earthquake, measuring magnitude 7.7, according to the USGS, in the epicenter about 10 miles from Mandalay, but causing havoc across Southeast Asia. Electricity and internet are down in Myanmar, the country also grappling with an ongoing civil war. There's heavy censorship, so information is slow coming out. We've seen social media posts of mass casualty centers, reports of extensive damage to highways and the airport. The most dramatic video, though, has emerged from Bangkok, Thailand, hundreds of miles away, a place that rarely gets earthquakes. The shaking causing a building to collapse at a construction site. Dozens of workers trapped in the rubble there. Only a handful have been rescued so far. Elsewhere in the city, water was sloshing out of rooftop swimming pools, buildings swayed, people rushed out to the street. Here's what they had to say.
I was in my lazy boy and all of a sudden it moved back and forth and then it toppled over and I hit my head on the table.
I thought I was fainting because everything suddenly shaking. I thought it was me, and then the light started to fall off the floor, the ground, and then we ran down to the building from 25th floor.
There have been several strong aftershocks as well, at least 12 of them. Thailand's prime minister declared a state of emergency. And in Myanmar, the military leadership has appealed for international humanitarian aid. They're promising cooperation. They're likely to get help from China. But the appeal itself could be an indication that Myanmar's junta believes that the death toll is going to go much higher.
The Myanmar earthquake was catastrophic. That thing was insane. And like that Asian lady said, she felt at first she was fainting, like the whole world, her whole ground, her whole everything started shaking, and she thought it was herself. That is something else to witness and have to go through. Absolutely insane.
Volcano erupts after 7.0 Russian earthquake.
Dude, so yes, earthquakes can definitely trigger volcanic eruptions. So that's pretty intense. So Julie says the one that she used to go to is called Luray Caverns in Virginia. I'll have to check that out sometime. I want to go to Virginia at some point. That'd be really cool. Watching that thing just shake like this and stumble and shake and stumble and shake until it fell over, that was pretty intense. I wonder how much that weighed. It'd be interesting to see. It probably weighed at least maybe like 100, 150 pounds at least. And that stone was shaking like nobody's business. And then you also had the houses in the first clip of it. The houses, the way they were swaying like that, that'd be some scary shit, man. Like everything in your house would be falling apart. So you'd have books on the floor, you'd have your chairs and your desks like literally shaking. Dishes are probably falling out of your cabinets. When your entire house is doing this thing, that's pretty crazy. I don't know what I would do. So I've only ever witnessed basically one earthquake and had to go through it myself, and it was a couple of years ago. I actually woke up and I woke up to pans rattling and I didn't know what was going on, but I found pictures on the floor and then I realized, oh, we went through an earthquake. So that was pretty intense.
A powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck off Russia's eastern coast, triggering an eruption from the Shiveluch volcano in Kamchatka. The volcano, located about 280 miles from the city of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, launched a massive ash column nearly 5 miles into the air, accompanied by a gush of lava. Despite the intensity of the quake, no major damage has been reported, though buildings are being inspected for potential issues.
The volcanoes that erupt after these earthquakes sometimes, so like that one in Russia, the 7.0 magnitude earthquake triggered that eruption, definitely can happen. And that's why earthquakes happening around Wyoming, specifically in Yellowstone, is such a scary thought, because any amount of seismic activity could make Yellowstone basically erupt. I've heard that basically there's these exhaust vents at the supervolcano in Yellowstone that were originally letting off magma that are now starting to harden over and pressure's starting to build up, which that could also be triggering more seismic activity in Yellowstone or around Yellowstone. So experts say it could be anywhere from tomorrow till 500 years, but Yellowstone's probably going to erupt at some point. I just hope it's not in my lifetime.
March 11, 2011, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake struck off Japan's northeastern coast, triggering a tsunami with waves up to 40 meters high. Entire towns were wiped out, and nearly 20,000 lives were lost. The tsunami breached the Fukushima nuclear power plant, flooding its emergency generators and disabling cooling systems. Within days, 3 reactors experienced catastrophic meltdowns, releasing radioactive material into the air, soil, and over 80% into the Pacific Ocean. The radioactive plume traveled across the Pacific, with traces detected as far away as California. More than 150,000 people were evacuated, as entire towns were declared uninhabitable. The disaster caused an estimated $360 billion in economic damages, making it the costliest natural disaster in history. Fukushima reshaped global energy policy, and in 2023, Germany finally shuttered its last nuclear power plants after the energy crisis.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting that it affected Chernobyl like that, or Fukushima like that. Any time that a natural disaster affects a power plant or nuclear facility like Fukushima, for instance, and does extreme damage, I bet that's pretty scary, because there is something called radioactive waste, right? And nuclear power plants create radioactive waste. I don't know what all goes into radioactive waste, and like if we really should be afraid of it or not, but the sound of radioactive waste, that just doesn't sound good. So I don't know. Freaky.
March 11, 2011, a
It's like a volcanic eruption of some kind. That looked pretty intense, that lava shooting up like that. This is actually really pretty. Destructive. Very pretty. I kind of wish I could have seen that up close, like directly in front of me. That looked pretty intense.
On August 17, 2024, a powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. The quake's epicenter was located 107 kilometers southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky at a depth of 51 kilometers. The seismic shock triggered an eruption from the Shiveluch volcano, launching ash plumes nearly 9 kilometers into the sky. As lava and ash poured from the volcano, authorities kept a close watch on the evolving situation. Initial tsunami warnings were issued by the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center, suggesting hazardous waves could affect areas within 300 kilometers of the quake's epicenter. However, Russian authorities later clarified that no significant tsunami threat materialized, and the warning was lifted. Fortunately, no injuries have been reported, though buildings are being inspected for damage, and aftershocks, some reaching magnitudes of up to 5.0, continue to rattle the region. Stay tuned to Above the Norm News for updates on this ongoing story.
And that one was pretty that earthquake, that 7.7 that caused that eruption in Russia, that thing was pretty crazy. So they also issued tsunami warnings, Julie, for that one. Thank goodness tsunamis did not occur because of that.
Japan has issued yet another major disaster warning. This time, it's not about Mount Fuji, but a possible magnitude 9 megaquake off its Pacific coast that could kill up to 300,000 people. A new report from the Cabinet Office outlines the worst-case scenario: massive tsunamis, building collapses, and over 1 million evacuees. The most deadly outcome would be a winter, nighttime quake, when people are indoors and evacuation is nearly impossible. This isn't a far-off possibility. The government says there is an 80% chance of a magnitude 8 to 9 earthquake hitting this region. The threat zone is the Nankai Trough, a 900-kilometer stretch of seabed where tectonic pressure has been building for decades. We've already reported on Japan's recent warnings about Mount Fuji. Up to 30 centimeters of volcanic ash could shut down Tokyo. And a national simulation last October showed just 2 centimeters of ash could cripple transport and power. Now, the government says a Nankai quake could cause $1.8 trillion in damage, nearly half the country's GDP. That's a sharp increase from earlier estimates based on expanded flood zones and updated terrain data. First Mount Fuji, now the Nankai Trough. These warnings are not isolated, so the question remains, what does Japan know that hasn't been fully explained? And how close are we to seeing one of these warnings become reality?
I've also watched videos that where people explore how they're affected by radioactive materials that are deserted. I used to watch a guy exploring with Josh, and then a couple other people that were on YouTube that would go explore like Fukushima or the other one. I always forget it. The one in Russia and Ukraine. Just said it a while ago. Oh well. But anyways, I've seen them go through those before. Sequel.
If the largest volcano in the world erupted, would you even know about it? Well, Mauna Loa last erupted in 2022, causing significant volcanic smog and lava flows, but you're probably thinking it would have been worse. Because Mauna Loa is a shield volcano, its eruptions tend to be relatively gentle. However, if Yellowstone's supervolcano erupted, it would be the most destructive eruption ever. The colossal explosion would send ash clouds 30 kilometers into the sky, and over 1,000 cubic kilometers of volcanic material would be unleashed, creating devastating lava streams that reshape the landscape within hours. Thick ash would blanket states like Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Globally, sunlight would be blocked, triggering a volcanic winter that plunges temperatures worldwide, leading to massive food shortages.
That would not be good. Massive food shortages are never good in times of extreme dire need. That's for sure. During a volcanic eruption or an extreme earthquake, having a food shortage would not be ideal.
The Tonga volcano explosion that occurred in 2022 was one of the largest ever seen from space. This is the footage of the GOES West satellite. And this is the footage from the Himawari 8 satellite. And yes, the Earth is round.
That looked pretty crazy to see a volcanic eruption from space. That's pretty intense. I love how he had to add in there that the Earth is round. Crew would have hated that. Crew would have lost his freaking mind.
A massive underwater volcano off Oregon is roaring back to life. Axial seamount 470 kilometers offshore has gone from just a few tremors per day to over 500 daily quakes. Scientists are stunned as the seafloor swells 25 centimeters a year, signaling that magma is pushing its way to the surface at an accelerating rate. This volcano, located on the Juan de Fuca Ridge, has been quiet for years, but something changed in late 2023. Now, it's nearing the pressure point that caused its last eruption in 2015. With real-time data from the world's most advanced underwater monitoring system, scientists are racing against time. The next eruption could be just around the corner, any time from now to end of 2025. Will axial seamount erupt again? Scientists are watching closely, and the stakes are high. To watch the live streaming of this, check out the description.
The Axios seamount is off the coast of Oregon, and it's pretty active right now. It's kind of a scary volcano to look at because they're almost positive that it's going to erupt by the end of this year. It shouldn't cause any significant damage because of where it's located, but it would still be pretty crazy to see that volcano off the coast of Oregon go up. Also, Julie, yes, exploring with Josh, absolutely wonderful. I love all of his videos. I know it's scary, but that stuff is absolutely beautiful. Being able to see magma either erupt out of a volcano or slowly leak out of a volcano is just some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. That blazing hot magma is just such a pretty vibrant red. If only I knew it wasn't going to hurt me. I wish I could take pictures of it and get up fairly close to a volcano and take some fairly good photos. I would love that.
Watch out for the shock, it's coming. Holy smoking Toledos.
That was pretty loud, guys. Bang! Holy smoking Toledos. I like that guy.
What is the most powerful volcanic eruption in Earth's history? A couple of videos back, I told you about the most powerful volcanic eruption in Earth's recorded history, and that was the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia. So what could be more powerful than Tambora? Well, that was the supervolcano that erupted in North America. The location is known as Wawa Springs. It happened 30 million-ish years ago. So how much more powerful was the supervolcanic eruption at Wawa Springs? Mount Tambora had the power of 2.2 million atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima, but Wawa Springs had the power of 2.5 million atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima. And the sheer amount of tephra that was blasted into the atmosphere was 35 times more than Tambora. Tambora released around 160 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere, enough to cover the whole of New York City. Wawa Springs blasted into the atmosphere 5,500 cubic kilometers of tephra into the atmosphere. That's enough material to cover the whole of North America in around 9 inches of ash. Tephra is the geological name given to the material that's blown into the sky, such as ash, rubble, lava from a volcanic eruption. So in terms of how much it affected the world, we're not too sure, because obviously it was 30 million years ago. Mount Tambora created, well, the year after it became known as the year of outer summer, because it dropped global temperatures. So they believe, there's estimates that the Wawa Springs eruption would have dropped global temperatures maybe as much as 5 degrees worldwide. Craters of supervolcanic eruptions are known as calderas, and the caldera of the Wawa Springs eruption has pretty much been eroded away over those 30 millions of erosion, so we can't really see it, but it is around 40 kilometers wide. When you delve into the geological history of the world,
Okay, so the first video about the giant volcano that went off in the United States about 30 million years ago, that was about 3.5 atomic bombs. That is crazy. I can't even fathom that, to be honest. Or even like I'd like to see AI create a video of what that would have looked like. And the events that happened after, or what they believe to have happened after. That's pretty intense. And then with the second part of that video, with the lava that's flowing, that looks very pretty. Like once again, I would love to be able to visit a place like that and take video and photos. Absolutely beautiful. I'd be willing to risk it for a really good photo of that. I just would want to make sure that I was very self-aware of my surroundings and that I didn't accidentally waddle into some magma. That wouldn't be very good. Yeah, so just being able to see the magma up close is what it just reminds me how crazy this earth is. How fast the earth can take away what it also creates, and it makes such beautiful plants and such beautiful scenery, but then underneath that beautiful scenery, like take these mountains for instance, it could be a giant death machine, a huge volcano that just looks blatantly beautiful, but at the same time could be extremely deadly. The wonderfulness of Earth and her mysteries.
Europe's scariest volcano. Introducing Mount Vesuvius, Italy. Ever thought about a volcano so powerful it wiped out entire cities in a matter of hours? That's Mount Vesuvius for you. In 79 AD, this sleeping giant erupted, burying the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum under a thick blanket of ash and pumice. Located just east of Naples, Vesuvius is not just any volcano. It's one of the most dangerous in the world, mainly because of the 3 million people living close to its crater. Imagine living next to a ticking time bomb that could erupt at any moment. The eruption in 79 AD was so catastrophic, it sent a cloud of superheated gas and ash 21 miles into the sky, raining down on the cities below. The people had no idea what hit them. The cities were frozen in time, preserved under ash until their rediscovery in the 18th century. Today, they offer a haunting glimpse into life and sudden death in ancient Rome. But Vesuvius isn't just a relic of the past. It's an active volcano that last erupted in 1944, showing it's still a force to be reckoned with. Scientists closely monitor Vesuvius, knowing that its next eruption could have devastating consequences. So, if you ever find yourself gazing up at the imposing figure of Mount Vesuvius, remember the power it holds and the history it's seen. It's a reminder.
I feel the exact same way, Julie. I would love to be up close to see lava, but not close enough to get hurt or be burned by it. That would not be very fun.
This is lava, and it's the coldest lava on Earth. You're looking at rare eruption footage from Oldoinho Lengai, a volcano in the East African Rift Zone. The lava is so cold compared to other lavas that it doesn't even glow, except dimly at night. A mountain guide fell into this lava in 2007 and was able to climb out alive. After it erupts, this black lava reacts with the air and turns white, breaking down into dust. One researcher who was camping at the summit wrote, the dust crunches between our teeth when we eat. It's relatively cold because of its chemistry. It's the only lava on Earth that is based on carbon instead of silica. That makes its melting point low, and even stranger, makes it less viscous than liquid water. Its unique chemistry also leads to unique structures, like these brittle frozen geysers and these towering white cones called hornitos that are sometimes hollow and big enough for a human to explore inside. The lava is also chock full of rare earth minerals, making it the most valuable volcano on the planet. But I prefer it as a protected landmark rather than an open pit mine.
Except if it is a volcano that is completely filled with rare earth minerals, at some point, people are going to probably rewrite the code so it's not protected anymore so they can make money. You know what I mean? I hope not. It's a beautiful volcano, and I would rather it stay protected too.
Northwest side. A7AGG, W7WFP. Oh, now we've got an eruption down here. Now we got a big slide coming off. The slide is coming off of the west slope. So now we got a whole great big eruption out of the crater. And we got another that opened up on the west side, a whole west side, northwest side that slides down. Keep going, Jerry.
There was something about that was just extremely beautiful and awing. Mount St. Helens, I wasn't alive when that happened, but that looked incredible. I could only imagine being able to see that live as it happened. Imagine being in a plane or a helicopter as close as those guys were. Oh my goodness. Mount St. Helens erupting looked absolutely fantastic. I don't know if anybody was hurt during that eruption, or I mean, it sucks if there was casualties, or if that eruption affected anything and destroyed things for some people. That would be absolutely terrible. But it was an absolutely magnificent, beautiful eruption. Mount St. Helens is probably one of the craziest volcanoes I've seen on camera erupt. Absolutely crazy.
If you looked inside of an active volcano that's about to erupt, you would see magma building up and gathering into a pool known as the magma chamber. Now, as more magma accumulates, the pressure inside this chamber builds dramatically. And when this pressure becomes too great, the magma forces its way up through fractures in the Earth's crust. It reaches the volcano's main vent and can sometimes explode out with force.
Most people think Yellowstone is the only supervolcano in the US. But what if I told you there's another one, hidden in California? Meet the Long Valley Caldera, a massive volcanic depression in eastern California near Mammoth Lakes. It's one of the largest calderas in the world, spanning 20 miles wide and formed during a catastrophic eruption around 760,000 years ago. That eruption was so powerful, it ejected over 140 cubic miles of magma, blanketing large parts of the western US in volcanic ash. For comparison, that's more than 500 times the size of the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. Today, Long Valley is still geologically active. It has hot springs, fumaroles, and evidence of magma chambers beneath the surface. In the 1980s, a series of earthquakes and ground swelling indicated that magma was moving, raising concerns about a future eruption. While it's not as famous as Yellowstone, Long Valley could cause significant global impacts if it erupted again.
Yeah, I mean, a volcano that big, if it erupts, is going to cause significant problems for the surrounding areas and surrounding states, for sure. And if it's a super volcano, it could cause problems for the entirety of the United States if it goes off.
Movies always drop hints. Earthquake destroys Missouri in new movie. Something peculiar about this path. Eclipse path. Cicada path. Hurricane Beryl path. Doomsday map.
Coast from Texas to Mexico next week. Mexico.
Yeah, the earthquakes need to stay out of Missouri, please, just for a while till I can move out of here. I would very much appreciate that, Mother Nature. Please don't send any crazy magnitude earthquakes my way. So, guys, in that last video, I saw in one of the volcano clouds, there was lightning. So I had to ask Grok, does lightning occur in volcanic clouds? And this was Grok's answer for me. It says, yes, lightning can occur in volcanic clouds. A phenomenon known as volcanic lightning or dirty thunderstorms can occur when a volcano erupts. It ejects ash, gas, and molten particles into the atmosphere, creating a dense plume. The collisions between these particles, especially ash and particles within the plume, generate static electricity through a process called charge separation. The buildup of electric charge can discharge as lightning bolts within the volcano cloud or between the cloud and the ground. The volcanic lightning is most common in explosive eruptions with thick ash clouds. Like those from stratovolcanoes, the presence of water vapor or ice in the plume can enhance charge generation as water molecules contribute to particle interactions. Notable examples include eruptions of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. I can't even say this one. It's Ilyai Fajal Jokol in 2010, and Teal Volcano in 2020, where vivid lightning displays were documented. The exact mechanisms are still under study, but it's clear that turbulent particle-rich environment of volcanic plumes creates ideal conditions for electrical discharges such as lightning. So yes, lightning does occur in volcanic clouds.
Pressure within the Earth's interior continues to build as the heat generated inside the planet expands the volume of magma. This in turn causes the planet's surface to expand. Suppose we fail to carry out planned degassing and do not relieve the continuously mounting pressure underground. In that case, the air pumped in by the inflator will eventually rupture the balloon. In geological terms, this would mean a rupture of the Earth's crust in the most affected zone. A rupture always occurs where the crust is thinnest. Today there are two exceedingly thin points on the planet: the zone of magma plume beneath Siberia and the fragile crust in the area of the Mariana Trench. However, at this moment, the Siberian plume is the leading source of aggressive influence on the Earth's crust. Thus, this is the central premise of degassing, to relieve the critical pressure building within the system we call planet Earth. It is essential to understand that the process of pressure accumulation in Earth's system is not infinite. It resembles a pump inflating a balloon, which operates only for a limited time.
All right, so that is a really good description of how some volcanoes work. I wanted to talk real quick about Mount Vesuvius, which is located in Naples in southern Italy. Is one of the world's most famous volcanoes, right? I'm sure everybody's heard of Mount Vesuvius. It's renowned for its catastrophic explosion in 79 AD that buried Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Its history is a blend of geological power, human tragedy, and scientific discovery. Within 79 AD, eruption serving as a pivotal movement of both history and volcanology. Below, there's a detail here. I have a detailed description of the geological history behind Mount Vesuvius. Basically, Mount Vesuvius is a stratovolcano, also called a composite volcano, situated in Campania region, about 9 kilometers or 5.6 miles east of Naples. It sits within the Campanian volcanic arc, formed by the subduction of African tectonic plate beneath the Eurasian plate. Vesuvius itself is part of a larger volcanic complex that includes the older Monte Somma and caldera, partially destroyed by past eruptions. The modern Vesuvius cone grew within this caldera, giving this volcano its distinctive double peak appearance. Before 79 AD, Vesuvius was considered dormant, lush mountain. Its slopes were covered in vineyards, orchards, and forests, and the surrounding region was thriving. It was part of the Roman Empire. The volcano had not erupted in living memory, and the local population, including the residents of Pompeii, Herculaneum, Stabae, and Oplantis, was unaware of its potential for destruction. However, geological evidence suggests Vesuvius has become active for thousands of years, with significant eruptions occurring centuries earlier. The famous eruption of 79 AD. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD is one of the most well-documented natural disasters in history, thanks to a detailed account provided by Pliny the Younger, a Roman lawyer and author who witnessed the event from a distance. His letters to historian Tacitus offer a first-hand narrative, making this eruption a cornerstone of volcanology. On August 24th, 79 AD, though some evidence suggests it occurred on October or November, small tremors began shaking the region around Vesuvius. These were not uncommon in Campania, a seismically active area, and residents likely dismissed them. However, the volcano was awakening after centuries of dormancy, building pressure from magma rising beneath its cone. Around midday, Vesuvius erupted, explosively sending a massive column of ash, pumice and gas into the stratosphere, reaching heights of up to 33 kilometers, 21 miles. This this Plinian eruption, named after Pliny the Younger, created a towering pine tree-shaped cloud visible for miles. Winds carried the ash and pumice southward, blanketing Pompeii and the surrounding areas. The initial phase involved falling pumice stones, which piled up to 2.8 meters or 9 feet in Pompeii, causing roofs to collapse and hindering escapes. Herculaneum, located closer to the volcano's northwest, initially escaped heavy ashfall due to wind patterns. However, residents in both cities faced chaos as darkness enveloped the region caused by thick ash cloud blocking sunlight. Pliny the Younger described the scene as a cloudy night, but as if a lamp had been put out in a closed room. Pyroclastic surges and flows. The most devastating phase occurred in the early hours of August 25th, when the eruption column collapsed, unleashing a series of pyroclastic surges and flows. Superheated avalanches of gas, ash, and rock traveling at speeds up to 435 miles per hour, or 700 kilometers an hour, and temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius or 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Herculaneum was hit first, buried under 20 meters of 6.5 feet of volcanic material that preserved its city in a tomb-like state. Residents who had taken shelter, including those in boathouses by the shore, were incinerated instantly. Pompeii was also struck by subsequent surges, which killed those who survived the ashfall. The intense heat and toxic gases called thermal shock and suffocation, preserving their bodies in their final moments. The eruption continued with additional surges, burying the region under layers of ash and pumice. The volcanic lightning of Vesuvius. The eruption likely produced volcanic lightning within the ash plume, as charged particles collided with the turbulent cloud. While Pliny the Younger's account does not explicitly mention lightning, later studies of Vesuvius and similar eruptions confirm that this phenomena was probable, adding to the apocalyptic nature of the event. The aftermath of Vesuvius. The eruption lasted approximately 24 hours, destroying Pompeii, Herculaneum, Stabi, and smaller settlements. Estimates suggest 2,000 to 16,000 people perished, though the exact numbers are uncertain. The landscape was transformed with Vesuvius. The cone was altered and the coastline shifted due to the volcanic deposits. Survivors fled and buried cities were abandoned, fading from memory for centuries. Pliny the Elder, a Roman naturalist, and Pliny the Younger's uncle died during the eruption while attempting a rescue mission. Commanding the Roman fleet at Misenum, he sailed toward the volcano to aid evacuees, but succumbed to toxic gases or a heart attack near Stabi. The archaeological significance behind this. Pompeii and Herculaneum remained buried until the 16th century, when workers digging a canal stumbled upon ruins. Seismic excavations began in 18th century, revealing remarkably preserved cities that offered a snapshot of Roman life. Pompeii's ash and pumice preserved buildings, frescoes, mosaics, and even food, while Herculaneum's pyroclastic material encased organic materials like wood, papyrus scrolls, and human remains. Archaeologists developed a technique to create plaster casts of victims by pouring plaster into voids left by decomposed bodies, capturing their final poses. These casts, along with artifacts like jewelry, tools, and graffiti, provide intimate insights into Roman society, from daily routines to social hierarchies. The Villa of Papyri in Herculaneum, a luxurious estate, yielded a library of carbonized scrolls, some of which are still being studied today using modern imaging techniques. Excavations continue today with recent discoveries, including a well-preserved skeleton in Herculaneum in 2021 and new frescoes in Pompeii in 2024. Vesuvius after 79 AD. Vesuvius had erupted dozens of times since 79 AD, with significant events in 472, 512, and 1631 and 1944. The 1631 eruption killed around 4,000 people and prompted better monitoring of the volcano. The 1944 eruption during World War II destroyed U.S. military aircraft and disrupted Allied operations, but caused limited casualties due to evacuations. Each eruption has altered Vesuvius's shape and behavior, with periods of explosive pinion eruptions, quieter, effusive lava flows. The volcano is currently dormant, but its magma chamber remains active, posing a significant risk and threat. The modern significance of this and the risk of this is today Mount Vesuvius is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, with Pompeii and Herculaneum attracting millions of visitors annually. This Vesuvius National Park, established in 1995, protects the volcano's ecosystem and promotes research. However, Vesuvius remains one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes due to its proximity to densely populated areas. Over 3 million people live within the hazard zone, including 600,000 in the red zone at higher risk. The Italian government has emergency plans, including evacuation routes, but a major eruption could overwhelm the infrastructure. The Vesuvius Observatory, founded in 1841, monitors seismic activity and gas emissions and to predict potential eruptions. Geologists estimate Vesuvius is overdue for a significant eruption, as its longest dormant periods historically precede explosive events. A modern Pinion eruption could produce ashfall affecting Naples, pyroclastic flows reaching nearby towns, and volcanic lightning disrupting air traffic and electronics. The cultural and scientific legacy behind all of this: the 79 AD eruption shaped history and science. Pliny the Younger's account provided the first detailed description of the volcanic eruption, influenced volcanology's development. The term Plinian eruption honors the contribution of Pompeii and Herculaneum-inspired art, literature, and archaeology. From the 19th century, novels like The Last Days of Pompeii by Edward Buller Lytton to modern films. Vesuvius also underscores the fragility of its human civilization against natural forces. Its preserved ruins serve as a warning and a treasure, offering lessons in resilience, preparedness, and the enduring quest to understand the Earth's power. So that's just a little bit on Vesuvius. Absolutely insane. I just thought I would touch on that. Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, and it was so crazy that people running away and people like trying to hide were frozen in time because of how hot the ash was when it touched their bodies. It literally froze them in time. So Mount Vesuvius and volcanoes in general have always piqued my interest. So I thought I would go on that for a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to bore you. I find it very interesting. I hope you guys do too. One of my favorite things about volcanoes is just the amount of lava flow and ash that they can create and where all of that ends up. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me that we have such a beautiful place called Earth, but it can turn into literally a landscape of hell in a matter of moments if one of these super volcanoes, such as Yellowstone, Vesuvius, or Mount St. Helens, or any of these things go off. The land immediately turns into a hellhole. And remember, these earthquakes can contribute too. But anyways, let's get back to the video.
Pressure within the Earth's interior continues to build.
So that earthquake simulation of California getting hit, that's pretty scary. Bridges toppling over and cars rolling over and just violent shaking and buildings swaying and some collapsing. That's just something I would not want to see.
What would happen to the world if the Yellowstone volcano erupted? Most people don't know that there is a supervolcano beneath this lake, which is in Yellowstone Park, which is located in Wyoming, which is in the US. The Yellowstone volcano is absolutely massive as it's 37 miles long, 18 miles wide, and 4 miles deep. It has experienced 3 major volcanic eruptions. First eruption was 2.1 million years ago, the second eruption was 1.3 million years ago, and the recent eruption was 631,000 years ago. So if it were to erupt, the surrounding states of Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming that are closest to Yellowstone would be affected by pyroclastic flows, while other places in the United States would be impacted by falling ash. The amount of ash would decrease with distance from the eruption site, and due to the smoke emitted into the atmosphere, a lot of sunlight would end up reflecting back into space. This means that the entire Earth would cool by at least 10 degrees for at least 10 years, which would hypothetically help global warming. So,
if you believe in global warming, the Earth goes through cycles, guys. I've been over this before. I don't believe in global warming and I don't believe in climate change. I believe the Earth goes through cycles. We go through ice ages and we go through extreme cycles of heat. Pollution, of course, can probably contribute to this, but nowhere near to the amount that they claim. That's just my personal belief.
What if we could generate energy from earthquakes? This intriguing idea could revolutionize our approach to renewable energy. Earthquakes release immense energy, often measured in the equivalent of nuclear bombs. If we could capture even a fraction of this energy, it could provide a sustainable power source. Imagine strategically placing piezoelectric materials or advanced turbines to convert the vibrations of tectonic shifts into electricity. This technology would not only harness natural events, but also promote energy independence in earthquake-prone regions. Additionally, it could lead to innovations in building resilient infrastructure designed to withstand seismic forces while generating power. However, the challenges are significant. We must develop efficient methods to capture and store the energy produced during these rare events. The unpredictability of earthquakes also raises questions about consistent energy output. Nevertheless, exploring this concept could inspire a wave of research into seismic energy and sustainable practices. If humanity can turn natural disasters into energy, we could pave the way for a greener future, reducing dependence on fossil fuels and enhancing our resilience against climate change. The implications are vast and could redefine our understanding of energy sources.
Sorry, guys, I had to run to the restroom.
Something terrifying is happening beneath Africa. The land is cracking open. A massive rift, stretching thousands of kilometers, is widening, unstoppable and relentless. One day, the continent will be torn in two, and a new ocean will flood the land, reshaping the world forever. In 2005, a violent warning came from the Earth itself. The Dabahu eruption in Ethiopia triggered over 130 earthquakes in just 1 week. Entire villages were swallowed, roads disappeared, and thousands were forced to flee as massive fissures tore through the ground. Scientists confirmed what many feared. This was the beginning of something unstoppable. Since then, the signs have only grown more alarming. In Kenya, a highway suddenly split in two as the land beneath it gave way overnight. GPS data now confirms what satellites have been tracking for years. The Somali plate is drifting away, pulling the Horn of Africa from the rest of the continent. When the final break happens, seawater from the Indian Ocean will surge into the rift, cutting off parts of Ethiopia, Somalia, and Djibouti, forming a brand new ocean. Millions of people live along this growing fracture, and with increasing earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and land collapses, their future is anything but certain. Scientists are tracking every movement, but nothing can stop what's coming. The Earth is changing, Africa is breaking apart, and the world is watching as history unfolds in real time.
That's pretty intense that the Earth is breaking apart that quick in certain places of Africa. That's pretty intense, guys. Well, we're getting kind of far into this. I think I'm going to have to do a part two on seismic activity, specifically earthquakes and volcanoes. This stuff has always interested me. It's one of those subjects that just throws you for a loop. And you know, at any point in time, anything can occur, and any volcanic activity can happen, or earthquake can happen, and we just have to know that we should be prepared, because we we don't know when these things can happen, and natural disasters can occur within a blink of an eye. So just know that if you're close to the places in this world that are affected by earthquakes or volcanoes, that you probably should have some kind of go bag ready in case you ever have to, in case you ever have to flee. God forbid a volcano goes off near you or an earthquake happens, a big enough earthquake. Earthquakes happen every day, but 7.7s don't happen every day. And if that were to happen, it could really mess things up. And if you live along the San Andreas Fault or the New Madrid Fault, you should have a go bag. So I strongly believe that you need to be ready for anything, because anything can happen, especially when it comes to Mother Nature. But anyways, guys, with that, I think I'm going to wish you all a good morning. And tonight we're going to be live around 11:45 midnight, maybe the latest 12:30, and we'll be doing an episode on Terra Infinita Part 2. Your wonderful co-host crew is going to be putting the show together as always, because it's his night. So I can't wait to see y'all tonight. So please tune in, enjoy, and I hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode on seismic and volcanic activity. Much love from the Robert and Crew Show, guys. Peace, love, and have a great morning and a great rest of your day. Peace.
If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into the Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.